Alright, hey guys, welcome back. So this is going to be the day one first impressions for the latest open world exploration detective RPG gacha game that is going to be Silverpalace, right? Our current progression, we are slightly below the level gate, which is gonna be level 16 that you'll experience on the very first day. You can go around spending your stamina, you can collect your couple of mints, collect your challenges, puzzles, fights here and there to force into level 16, which will then bring you into the next phase of the story, right? So from my understanding is that I believe that this is pretty much developed with Unreal Engine 5, right? Unreal Engine 5. And it is essentially a combat system that reminds me a lot of what you will experience from these kind of like Zenless, Wuthering Waves, a parry, dodge, scale, ultimate, with the added layer of like a special weapon for each character. It could be a gun, it could be a pistol, it could be a shotgun, it could be a flamethrower, it could be like a gauntlet. So that is like the general sentiments I've been getting from the feeling of this game, right? So from our first, I think we played roughly 4-ish hours, honestly not too long, so it's purely just a super early first impression in our very first CBT. I think the first thing that we can kind of talk about is like the story, right? So this story is, if you kind of remember how our experience was like with NTE, it is more like mystery focused. So this one doesn't have any, okay, at least to my knowledge, it doesn't have like ghosts or like boo, but like it has a lot more like detective, crime solving, right? Finding out like the dead bodies, right? Who is the culprit? A lot more along those lines. So if you also remember, for example, back in I think like Genshin Impact, there was this quest in like Fontaine where you had to like solve the mystery for like Farina, right? And then you were so it's a little bit similar. You will have to collect your clues, collect your evidence, and find out like who is gonna be the ultimate bad guy, and then you'll piece together as literally you're playing as a detective within this world over here, right? So a lot of like puzzle solving combined with the action format for Silverpalace story. There are a couple of hints of like funny moments. So if you guys are looking for like full on like serious, dark, scary game, probably not, because there are a lot of like a lot of like couple of jokes here and there, right? And there's like a silly bit of rivalry between yourself, and there's like you can name your brother, all that kind of stuff. So I'll leave that up to when the final story is gonna release, because to be completely fair, this is ultimately still CBT1, so I'm pretty sure quite a couple of things will be changing here and there. The overall vibes for the city, right? It is really familiar with like Expedition 33. It's like the whole, I'm not sure if it's like France or like Victorian age, like those like old European countries where like you are going around, not really say like technologically advanced, but they do have a couple of mechanics here and there, and you have like interaction with the people, the city, and right, you can buy the pizza, the food, and everything. So we can explore those kind of aesthetics across this world, right? So that is pretty much gonna be the main early impressions for what the core substance is gonna be like. So the main thing for this is right now, CBT1, to my understanding, there's no gacha. So every single unit that is gonna be offered in CBT1, it will be available to you as long as you're playing the CBT1. But I'm almost certain by the time this game is gonna come out, there will be a gacha element. So for example, this is Cinderella, right? Cinderella is gonna be essentially, I'm almost certain she is gonna be the first rate up 5-star unit that we are probably gonna be all pulling for, because she is also the very first fight that you experience where she literally steps on your face. Like before, I was literally prepared to immerse myself in the story. I was eating a protein bar. In less than 30 seconds, you go into a fight. Like you instantly go into a fight, right? So she is our very first like villain or like a character, and I'm gonna be able to get this by tomorrow, so we'll see how this is gonna be like. But yep, this is gonna be our first unit, and the second unit is gonna be this right here, which is Cynthia 2. Yay. Basically teeth with a here. So you can see like the models of the characters, right? It is definitely gonna be like a very big contrast between like the big waifu like ara women, as well as like this kind of like a lot like cuter like childlike characters. And yes, there are also males in this game. So if you want to just take a look at the roster that we have right now, something like this.
Cut to the chase before
you are gonna open with the female MC. You do not have access to the male MC, so I call my male MC who are. I think this is one of the most intense designs that I see from a female MC, because she has a shit ton of different mechanics as well as a graphics built to the kit. I will talk a little bit more about like the expressions a little bit later, but this is gonna be. I'm guessing he is like your colleague. I don't think he's your boss, but he's basically kind of like your colleague, so he's basically like the chief inspector. This guy is gonna be your mate. Oh, I mean this girl, right? From what I noticed, she is currently my favorite unit to play because she uses a shotgun, and this shotgun deals really high toughness bar damage, which will make a lot more sense after I explain the combat mechanics. And then this guy's a bartender. So to my understanding, bro is basically your sustain, because once you cast your ultimate, you are gonna be able to get a bit of that passive healing. So these are the units that we're going to be available from day one. And we also have the similar options if you're going to be playing like signature weapons, light cones, drive this, all that kind of stuff. This is pretty much something like this. And then this is going to be the talent tree over here, which you're going to be able to argue with. From what I'm seeing, I don't see a dupe system in this game. But then again, it is CBT1. I am almost absolutely certain every single gacha game that I've ever played in my entire life has a dupe system, right? But it's just that for this CBT1, there's no such thing as a dupe system. And there isn't such a thing called gears, but instead of gears they have this thing called the so they have this system, which if you guys played Expedition 33, it is a very reminiscent of like E33's Pathos. So they are essentially somewhat of like special abilities in which you can equip your characters, but your team is bound by your power limit. So eventually this is gonna go up, and then you can customize each different characters, equipping up to 3 different of these equipments. So now they have like a crit bonus, there's like a damage bonus, there's like a shield strength, and then there's like a HP healing, which is obviously gonna be built for sustain. So that is pretty much the very early kit of how are you gonna be able to develop your characters, right? I do think there's also gonna be these 2 main classes, which is gonna be the hero class, which I'm guessing it is just yourself. And then we have the Guardian, Outlaw, Victim, Savior, and Witness, which honestly I have no idea what these actually mean. And then we also do have a elemental class system, 7 different elements, which is very diverse. I am not too sure how deep or like how involved the elemental class system actually is when it comes to combat, aside from just adverse spend, because I haven't really seen elemental reactions, but I think there might be. So for example, this Silverium, right, it is like the main source of like power in this world. So whoever is going to be able to cast this, you can then deal this respective elemental damage towards the enemy. But maybe there might be a little bit more, just that I haven't really explored the combat too in depth yet. But from what I'm seeing over here, we do have this 7 different elements, right? So that is pretty much it for the base kit. Other than this, the actual combat itself, you are almost like a must to parry, to use your ranged weapons, your ultimates, as well as this thing called like the break move. So you are gonna be fighting, at least from all the enemies I've seen, they are gonna hit you with every single move is almost parryable, and then the other moves that cannot be parried is like they're gonna be in raid circles. So if you guys have been Xenosaurus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the rhythm is like very fast. So you have to be aware to not spam your attacks, because from what I've seen so far, a lot of these units, they don't have this thing like hit stun interruption protection. So if you play games like Zenless or like Water Waves, if you keep attacking but you get hit in the middle, some attacks are things that you can just ignore because you are gonna continue on attack chain. But from what I've seen, every single one of the attacks so far, they will interrupt your attack chain, and it deals quite a decent amount of damage. So it is kind of like your job to balance out when you exactly go ahead and attack, or when you go ahead for the parry. And then once you go for a parry, you can also go for like your ranged weapon, like your special weapons. So for some of them, it's going to be a gun, shotgun, special attacks, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually, you're also going to be dealing this toughness bar damage. So you can see from the view over here, And you can deal it with any of your sources, and once they actually break, you can then do this like break move, like a finisher move, to deal an extra chunk of damage, which to my knowledge is like it's shared between all 4 units. And then there's also the classic ultimate damage from like all your different ultimate skills. So very, very classic gacha fashion. So it is a mix between parry, melee, ranged, and then a little bit of a difference in between here and there, which I would say is gonna be able to differentiate itself quite well. It is like a combination of like, to a certain extent, Warring Wave, Zenless Zone 0, Duet Night Abyss, and if you want to think about it, okay, I wouldn't say either tree, but like the picture just really reminded me of that vibe. So that is sort of like how this whole situation is like with the toughness bar and the finish and everything. So we also have a lot of quick swapping options. So from all of the characters, they share this currency in the middle of the screen where you can quick swap up to 3 times, where they will have an intro damage, like an intro attack. And then if you do not have the little line, then you won't have an intro attack. Then you wouldn't want to quick swap, right? So you'll combine all these things onto one to have the ultimate combat experience for this game itself. From all these things that is done, from what I understand, there's a grand total of 7 different units that we are gonna be able to get in CBT1. There's Ray, Rose, and Ashley, which unfortunately I don't think we're gonna be able to play this CBT. The last unit that we're gonna be getting is most likely gonna be the Cynthia 2. So Cinderella from day 2, and then Cynthia 2, if we can get the 10,000 star, then we can try all these different 7 units, right? So that is kind of pretty much what we see. Open world experience. Unfortunately, this game, to me, feels a little bit clunky on the overall side because you do not have access to the jump button nor the climb button. So the main way you're going to be able to traverse around very, very quickly is by mounts. So the game will instantly give you a free horse the moment you get to the combat. So like horizontal travels, right? Like you're traveling on roads and everything, and when you can actually find those beacons that will shoot to the sky, it's very, very fast, right? But the thing with this mounting is, if you want like more precise movements, like between like ledges to ledges, or you want to jump from place to place, it will be a little bit more annoying. But they do offer some places with like parkour. So if like the ledge is not too tall, you can just parkour over, and it's like a built-in system. So it kind of varies between places and places. But the most annoying thing I had so far was that the mount is like goal-shaped. It is like really, really hard to control this mount, especially when you're transitioning between like flying and like not flying, right? The mounting during the ground travels, which is like you can drift and you can sprint, is pretty good. But it's just that the flying one you have to get a little bit more used to, because the sensitivity is really, really high, and you can't really force the mount to stop immediately when you want to land, right? So that is pretty much that. We also have the grabbles, you can interact with the environment. You have the chest that you can open with your Saki. There are like puzzles that you can solve, and all those other things, like if you encounter an enemy in real life, like the werewolf or like any NPCs, any side quests, you can also go ahead and explore. So it's very, very similar to the classic open world gacha they are gonna be very, very familiar with, right? So other than that, I would say that as of right now, the actual gameplay itself is going to be revolving around progressing through the story, obviously from day one. And then the other things is going to be seen from the agenda over here, right? So all these are the classic spend your stamina, build your characters. So this is the Echoes of War. Then we have a couple for the Tracers, right? Your EXP, right? Your trace materials, all that kind of stuff. And then this is going to be essentially this game's, I am guessing, simulated universe kind of stuff, where you have this roguelike domain. You will go in, you'll unlock like different upgrades as you fight randomized enemies, and as you clear them, you'll fight one final boss, and then you have all these at single time clear. I don't think this is considered their endgame content just yet, because I don't see any refreshability. But once again, this is CBT1, right? So far for day one, that is most of the things that I have encountered are pretty straightforward so far. The number one thing right now is pretty much just going to be exploring through the story. And then once we get more and more to the story, we can level up our units. Hopefully by day 2, I'll get Cinderella, which everybody should be able to get. And then we'll try out for ourselves, right? Okay, my feedback for this game. Right, so this is just going to be our essentially my last one. My feedback for this game is that the biggest gripe I have, right, is that the models actually look really, really nice. They are very, very expressive. I think their 3D model itself, right? They have their auto animation, their hair, their physics, right? The bounce is very good. There's just this one thing, which is, okay, actually in this particular scene, it looks good. Because the eyes are like moving, right? Like you can see in my mouse, that is actually pretty nice in that idle animation. It's just that in my time playing through the story, the eyes do not move, So it gives off this very, very uncanny feeling that they are not really talking directly to one another, because they are not really staring at the camera and they're not staring at anyone else, but they're just like staring at one place. They can blink, they can move their face, but the eyes don't move. So it makes it feel very, very strange, like this uncanny valley kind of feeling, which I felt was definitely can improve on. But these idle animations, right, they fall throughout, I think that's actually really, really good. But just in the story, it just felt a little bit strange to me, which is very weird because like the models themselves, they look so good. They genuinely look like their textures, there was the rain, the different night and day transitions, right, the sound effects. I think those were really, really nice. It's just that specifically just the eyes for pretty much every single character during the story, they felt a little bit like lifeless, you understand, right? So hopefully they can change on that. Other than that, I've already mentioned my amount. I think this game, it has a very, very interesting vibe of, also yeah, the ass is like ding ding ding. This game has a very, very interesting vibe where it kind of needs to separate itself from a lot of the open world gacha games that we have seen since 2025, 2024, and now going to 2026, 2027, right? It is not really directly tied to Silver Palace, but it's just that the specific niche that we are going to be experiencing here today, it is no longer like back in 2020s, where it is like just Genshin Impact as like the gacha overall, right? I think nowadays we have like at least 5 titles that is gonna be within the horizon, right? We have this game coming out, we have NTE, we have Ananda in the future, we have like Raza Pura, there's still Warring Waves as well as Genshin Impact. So like the competition for these kind of like open world games, and we judge that doing like this is like, is really, really strong. So hopefully this game can establish a identity that's gonna be like unique to itself and not just another open world gacha game, right? So from what I'm seeing, the unique part of Silver Palace is that it is mainly focused on the investigation portion, right? You want to solve cases, right? It is more of the mystery, crime solving, and the vibes that we're going to be getting here. It is, I would say, not really seen so from anyone else. So like if you want to compare to like other upcoming overall games, NT I played like every single CPT, it is like way more urban with like paranormal investigation activities, right? Then for like, I think Ananta, it is very, very far away, but it also feels like a lot more urban, right? But this game, it is not so much. It is like more Victorian / European over. Also, that guy is fucking scary. This kind of vibes. So, oh wait, there is a baddie. Oh, wait, stop right there. Oh my goodness, blood residue. Okay, wait. Let me kill this wolf real quick. Bro just spawned in front of me. Bro, I'm not gonna let that slide. Stop right there. There we go. So we're just gonna be able to get a couple of things over there. We're just gonna get a couple of things over there. And then we're gonna squeeze over here. Then we just got this. Bam. And then we're just gonna out over here. And he is done. Very, very good, right? So, yeah, as I was saying, this is the identity that I think Silver Palace is going to be trying to establish. So hopefully it will be unique and captivating enough for the audience to stay with this game by itself. A couple of other performance issues, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because at the end of the day, it is CBT1. So for example, there were a couple of like glitches in the story, right? There was a part where like Chair was very upset because we couldn't see like the raid rolls because she kind of just went away. Every single time when the battle ends, there's this like 1 second of freeze or delay, which will... It's not that big of a deal because I have a $10,000 PC, but I'm not too sure if this optimization is going to be able to be maintained for like lower end PCs or even on like mobile devices. Because this is basically everything cranked out to max, which I so far haven't experienced like a huge drop in frame rate or performance. So I think optimization towards the other devices, it will kind of have to be like a wait and see kind of situation, right? So I think one last feedback I can probably give is that the combat itself, the camera movements, as well as the feel of the parry, it needs to be improved. I think camera is the most important thing because like it's not very intuitive when you have a lot of different enemies, but the camera movement speed doesn't follow as fast. So like for example, especially because like this game, it has a built-in thing where you can aim your weapon at someone. So the camera feels a very, very weird because it doesn't match the direction you're going to be going for, and the movement is going to be a little bit more erratic, right? Especially when you have like multiple enemies all at the same time, and when the enemies are, for example, the Cinderella fight should like fly, jump up, dash, and like, it goes very, very fast. So the pace of the battle for Silver Palace is already a much quicker paced rotation And I think the camera at this point actually cannot keep up. So that's number one. And then the other thing, which is the parry, from what my experience was so far in, like, for example, Zenless Zone Zero in Water Waves, or even like, for example, E33, right, is that their parries feel a lot more satisfying in Silver Palace because you're essentially using the same button for parry and dodge. So at that specific function, you can't really feel that big of a oomph when you actually land that. Oh my god, she's so silly. She's just twirling around. Yeah, you can't really land that exact feel of the parry because the circles is gonna be the same as, like, for example, Water Waves. It's like that little yellow circle that they're gonna come up and you have to parry at that moment. I would say that they can add a little bit more like impact. The SFX can definitely improve, and a lot of these other units, like for example when they do a quick swap, it needs to be like more oomph to it, right? A little bit more structure when you're actually gonna be doing like those kind of like chain attacks. So if you're gonna quick on the bro, and then you quick on the bro, and quick on the bro, and alternate all of them using their skills and their weapons, I think it will make the combat feel a lot better. So that is kinda pretty much it. Very early day one impression of Silver Palace, because like I said, I haven't played this game that long yet. Overall, I would give this game a pretty solid. I'll give this a 7.35 out of 10 for a CBD one. So let me know what you guys think. Word of the day is gonna be, oh, am I stalling the train? Wait, am I blocking the train? Wait, I'm blocking the train. Okay, for that, I'm gonna plus 1.5 points. It is now officially 7.5, right? So that is a 7.5 out of 10. That is fucking ridiculous. Join this. Word of the day is gonna be made. Use code both of them on Games Up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.